You ever notice how the loudest person in the room usually got the least to say? The ones who truly know, the ones who truly understand, they don't waste energy trying to prove it. Because real strength, it doesn't need an audience, it doesn't need approval, it doesn't need to shout. It just is. See, when you learn to be silent, you start to realize how much power there is in holding back, in watching, in learning before you move. Silence ain't weakness. Silence is strategy. You don't let everybody see your hand before you play your cards. You move in silence because you're focused on the mission, not the attention. Everybody wants to talk about what they're going to do. I'm gonna start this business. I'm gonna get in shape. I'm gonna change my life. But the truth is, talking about it don't move you an inch closer. Action does. And silence gives you the space to act. When you stop talking, you start doing. When you stop trying to impress, you start to progress. The noise around you keeps you distracted. The silence within you keeps you grounded. It's in that quiet space where you start to feel your real power waking up. When you're silent, you start paying attention to things other people miss. You notice patterns, you see details, you read people's energy. You start understanding who's genuine and who's just talking. You start recognizing opportunities because you're not busy chasing validation. Silence gives you clarity, and clarity is what separates the dreamers from the doers. Most people can't stay silent because they need to be seen. They need to be heard. But the ones who really make noise in this world, they build in silence and let the results do the talking later. Silence also tests your patience. It forces you to be comfortable not knowing when the results will come. It teaches you to trust the process, even when it's slow. Everybody wants it fast. Everybody wants recognition right now. But silence builds strength because it trains you to wait, to endure, to work while nobody notices. That's when you become dangerous, when you learn to stay steady while the world sleeps on you. Because one day that silence breaks, and when it does, the noise you make will shake everything around you. There's a power in holding your tongue when people doubt you. There's power in walking away when you're misunderstood. You don't have to explain yourself to everyone. You don't have to prove your worth to people who can't see your value. Silence protects your energy. It keeps your focus pure, because sometimes the battle isn't about what you say, it's about what you don't say. Every word you don't waste, every argument you don't join, every moment you choose peace over noise, that's strength. That's discipline, that's control. See, real warriors don't announce when they're training. They just show up ready for war. Real builders don't post every brick they lay. They unveil the mansion when it's done. That's how you've got to move. Quietly, intentionally. Because when you talk too soon, you invite doubt, distraction, and destruction. But when you stay silent and focused, everything starts to align naturally. Your actions begin to speak for you. People start to notice the change without you ever saying a word. And that's the loudest sound you can ever make, the sound of transformation without explanation. So stay silent, not because you're scared, not because you're weak, but because you're preparing, because you know your time is coming, because you understand that power doesn't always need a platform. Sometimes it just needs patience. When you stay silent, you hear what others miss, you learn what others overlook, and you grow in ways they can't see. And when the time is right, when your moment comes, when your silence finally breaks, the world won't even be ready for the noise you're about to make. You can't rush growth. You can't rush what's meant to happen in your life. That's why silence matters so much, because silence gives growth the space it needs to happen naturally. C, everything in nature grows in silence. The trees don't make noise while they're stretching toward the sky. The ocean doesn't shout when the tide comes in. Even the sun rises quietly, yet every single morning it changes the world. You don't hear it move, but you see its effect. That's how real growth works quietly, consistently, powerfully. Some of you are frustrated right now because you're not seeing results fast enough. You're putting in the work, but it feels like nothing's happening. You're grinding, you're showing up, but nobody's clapping, nobody's noticing. But listen, just because it's quiet doesn't mean nothing's happening. Sometimes silence is a sign that growth is taking place under the surface. The seed doesn't make noise when it's buried. It just sits in the dark, waiting, trusting, expanding little by little, until one day it breaks through the soil. And when it does, everybody sees the flower, but nobody saw the struggle underground. That's your life right now. You're underground, you're hidden, you're being shaped. You want the spotlight, but the soil is where your strength comes from. Growth that's rushed can't survive the storm. Growth that's forced can't last. But when you allow yourself to grow naturally, in silence, in patience, in faith, you become unshakable. Because the deeper your roots go in silence, the taller you'll stand when it's time to rise. Too many people destroy their own progress because they keep digging up what they planted. They don't trust the process. They want to see results right away, so they keep pulling the seed out of the ground to check if it's growing. But growth don't work like that. You've got to let it breathe. You've got to let it take time. Every day you stay silent and consistent. You're watering that seed. Every sacrifice you make, every early morning, every late night, every moment of discipline, that's sunlight. That's growth. But here's the truth. Silence ain't easy. Silence feels uncomfortable because we're addicted to results. We want proof that what we're doing is working. We want people to validate our progress, but you've got to learn to trust what you can't yet see. You've got to believe that the silence is not punishment, it's preparation. The silence is where you're being molded into the person capable of handling the blessing that's coming. Because if you got it too early, you'd waste it. If you got it before you were ready, it would crush you. Growth takes time because greatness requires foundation. And sometimes silence is how the universe protects you. You think being unnoticed means you're being overlooked, but really, you're being prepared away from the noise. The silence is your safe zone, where you can fail without judgment, where you can learn without pressure, where you can become who you're meant to be before the world sees it. That's why you've got to stop rushing. You've got to stop trying to make noise before your roots are ready. Let it happen naturally. Growth that comes from silence is different. It's pure. It's not for show. It's not for applause. It's for purpose. When you grow in silence, you're not chasing fame. You're building foundation. You're not looking for likes. You're becoming solid. And that kind of growth, nobody can take it from you because it wasn't built on noise. It was built on patience, discipline, and peace. So stop doubting the process. Stop thinking that silence means you've been forgotten. You haven't been forgotten. You're being formed. The silence is where your roots are digging deep, where your strength is being built, where your future is taking shape. Stay silent. Keep growing. Keep trusting that everything you've planted will bloom when it's supposed to. Because when it finally does, when that growth finally breaks through the surface, the world won't be able to ignore the beauty that came from your silence. You don't have to tell people what you're going to do. You don't have to announce every move you make. Let your work speak. Let your consistency make the noise, because at the end of the day, talk is easy. Anybody can talk about goals, dreams, and success. But only a few are disciplined enough to stay silent and grind when nobody's watching. Words can impress people for a moment, but results inspire them for a lifetime. You can't fake effort. You can't fake consistency. You can't fake excellence. When your work is real, it speaks volumes louder than any promise, louder than any plan. See, most people want attention more than they want progress. They post about what they're about to do. They talk about how hard they're going to go. But deep down, they're just trying to convince themselves. That's the difference between those who make it and those who don't. The real ones don't say a word. They're too busy putting in the work. While everybody else is talking about the grind, they're in the dark doing it. They're up when the world's asleep, silent, focused, relentless, because they understand that greatness isn't proven in conversation, it's proven in execution. Every time you talk about what you're going to do, you give away energy that should be used to make it happen. Every word you speak without action is noise. But when you hold your vision close, when you protect it in silence, it builds power. There's something about quiet work that hits different. It's sacred. It's real. You're not chasing approval. You're chasing growth. You're not working to impress. You're working to improve. That's why when you finally show what you've built, people are shocked. They didn't see the late nights. They didn't see the sweat. They didn't see the moments you wanted to quit but didn't. All they see is the result. The truth is, people remember what you've done, not what you said you'd do. They don't care about your intentions, they care about your impact. So stop explaining, stop announcing, stop seeking validation. Just move quietly, confidently. Let your habits introduce you. Let your results tell your story. When you move like that, you build a different kind of respect, one that can't be bought, one that can't be faked. Because people trust actions more than they trust words. And understand this, when you let your work speak, you don't have to defend yourself. You don't have to clap back at haters. You don't have to prove your worth. Your work does that for you. Silence gives your work room to echo. It allows your results to travel farther than your voice ever could. The loudest ones are often covering insecurity, but the quiet ones, they're dangerous. They've already decided what they're going to do, and they don't need to announce it. That quiet confidence, that's what makes people stop and take notice when you finally show up. It's not about being secretive, it's about being strategic. You keep your dreams private because you understand that not everyone will understand them. You protect your focus because you know how fragile momentum can be when surrounded by noise. That silence isn't hiding, it's shielding. It's making sure nothing distracts you from your mission. Because when you work in silence, you eliminate pressure. There's no performance, no pretending, it's just you and the grind, raw and real. So keep your head down and your faith high. Let your work do the talking. The world doesn't need another speech about ambition. It needs more examples of perseverance. Let your story be told through your effort, through your growth, through your results. You don't need to convince anyone you're about to rise. Just keep moving, keep building, keep creating something that can't be ignored. Because when you finally step out, when your work speaks for you, the world will have no choice but to listen. When you finally get quiet, when you finally shut out all the noise, you start hearing something you've been missing for a long time, yourself. Because the truth is, the world is loud. Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's got something to say about who you should be, what you should do, how you should move. You start drowning in voices that don't belong to you. You start living for expectations that don't fit you. But when you choose silence, you start peeling all that away. You start finding your own rhythm, your own direction, your own voice. Silence isn't empty, it's alignment. It's the space where you stop chasing and start listening. See, the reason so many people feel lost is because they're too surrounded by noise to hear their calling. They're chasing what looks right instead of what asterisk feels asterisk right. They're busy comparing their chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. But when you're silent, when you get still, you start realizing that purpose isn't out there somewhere. It's already inside you. You don't have to find it. You just have to quiet everything long enough to hear it. You start hearing that whisper in your spirit that says, this is who you are. This is what you were made for. That's the voice that gets buried when you're too busy talking, posting, proving. But silence brings it back. When you align with that voice, life starts to shift. You stop forcing things. You stop fighting against what's not meant for you. You stop begging for doors to open that were never yours to walk through. Because when you're aligned, you don't chase, you attract. You don't panic, you prepare. You don't rush, you trust. You begin to understand that everything that's supposed to come into your life will come naturally, without noise, without stress, without struggle. That's what happens when you're in sync with your purpose. The right people, the right opportunities, the right timing, they all find you, because your energy speaks louder than your words ever could. But alignment doesn't happen without silence, because in silence you confront yourself. You face the truth about who you are, where you are, and what you've been avoiding. It's uncomfortable. That's why most people run from it. Silence makes you see your fears. It makes you acknowledge the habits holding you back. It exposes the excuses you've been living behind. But that's exactly what you need to grow. You can't align with your purpose while you're hiding from your truth. Silence forces you to deal with it, to heal from it, to rise above it. And once you do, something powerful happens. Peace starts to flow. You stop needing approval. You stop needing noise. You stop needing people to clap for you, because you finally know you're walking in the right direction. You wake up with clarity instead of confusion. You move with confidence instead of fear. You start feeling connected again to your goals, to your journey, to your creator, to yourself. That's the beauty of silence. It puts everything back in order. And from that order comes power. You start speaking less and doing more. You start wasting less time and valuing every moment. You begin to realize that peace is the greatest power you can have, and you protect it with everything in you. That peace comes when you're not chasing the world's pace, but your own. You stop trying to compete. You stop trying to prove, and you start living deeply, intentionally, purposefully. And that's when everything begins to flow naturally. The opportunities you used to beg for start showing up. The people you used to chase start respecting your presence. The things that once felt heavy start feeling light. Because you're not fighting anymore, you're aligned. So if you want your life to move, if you want your dreams to grow, learn to be still. Learn to trust the silence. Because in that silence, everything that's meant for you begins to find its way home.